All right, thank you guys. My name is Brock Page, and I do random sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And if you want to save yourself some time, there's a link in that comment section below that will actually take you right to my quick pick recap. It's a quick recap of all of this video's picks wrapped up in about 20 seconds. So if you want to save yourself some time, go ahead and click that right now. But with that said, let's go ahead and dive into some college football Week 14 action. And we're going to take a look at the Mountain West Conference. And we're going to begin with the Air Force Academy squaring off against Utah State. And that's a 9:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff this Thursday night. Air Force is minus 10.5 on the road, totals 51. Now we're 5-0 in our last 5 daily best plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to access today's daily best play, it's only going to cost you just $1.99. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to explain a little bit more about it in just a few moments. We're also 4-1 in our last 5 extra daily picks on that site as well. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, that's only going to cost you just $2.99. Now, we currently have over 775 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that website is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, the Air Force Falcons shut out New Mexico by the final of 28-0 in their last outing. Air Force is rushing for over 325 yards a game. Running back Brad Roberts has 280 yards on the ground through 3 ball games, 4 touchdowns, and 7.4 yards per carry he's averaging. Meanwhile, defensively, the Academies held their opponents to 17 points or less in 2 out of their last 3, and that includes a shutout, once again against New Mexico. Now, defensive tackle George Silvanic has 2.5 sacks on the year, along with 20 total tackles from the defensive line, and cornerback Elisha Palm is currently leading this Falcon D in tackles with 25 of them. The senior defensive back also has 2 PBUs and a pick for this Air Force secondary. Now, they're taking on a Utah State squad who's just 1-4 straight up on this season, 1-4 against the number in those ball games. USU scoring just 17 points a game, and they throw for less than $140 per contest. The Aggies' leading receiver, Devin Tompkins, is averaging just 42 yards receiving per contest, and he scored only once all season. Meanwhile, defensively, the Aggies have just 2 interceptions all season long, and they give up nearly 290 yards a game through the air. Now, this Utah State D is also allowing over 200 yards a game on the ground. And when it comes to the total on this one, the Aggies saw 2 out of their last 3 stay under the posted number. Meanwhile, Air Force is 2-1 of the under thus far for the season. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Air Force Falcons, minus 10.5, and the under 51 in that game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leans out for college football Week 14. And of course, this is our Mountain West Conference edition. But before we go ahead and dive into some more free content right here on YouTube, I just have to quickly remind you once again that we are 5-0 in our last 5 daily best plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to access our daily best play today, it's only going to cost you just $1.99. Now, we also went 4-1 in our last 5 extra daily picks on that site as well. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, that's only going to cost you just $2.99. Now, you might be wondering, why would you sign up for picks on Patreon and pay for them, where you can get them right here for free on YouTube, right here on my channel? And that's certainly a great thought, a great consideration. But just hear me out real quick, because if you were to go out there and bet every single game that's on the board, side and total, like I do with my breakdowns here on YouTube, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's a recipe for disaster. So don't go, going out there betting every single game here today in the Mountain West side and total. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp with the numbers. The odds become massively more against you the more and more games you play like that. And to be honest with you, the bookies just have so much more money than you and I do combined to be able to handle and absorb that type of action. You're seriously just no threat to them betting all those games. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down for you and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're my personal plays, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, I'm having a lot more success betting on games that particular way in small sample sizes versus, wagering on every single game on the slate, side and total like an absolute lunatic. Now, we do currently have over 775 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, I would love to have you. I look forward to seeing you. And the link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and move on and take a look at Boise State versus UNLV. That's going to be a 9:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff this Friday night. Now, the Boise State Broncos are minus 27 on the road, total 61. Boise's on a 2-game winning streak, 92 total points they scored in those 2 contests. The Broncos are also 2-0 straight up on the road this season and 4-1 straight up overall for the year. The Broncos are scoring 45 points a game when they travel, and they're gaining over 430 scrimmage yards on the road. Wideout Khalil Shakir has 38 grabs for 529 yards and 6 touchdowns. Shakir is averaging 106 yards receiving per contest. Meanwhile, defensively on the other side of the ball, the Broncos are holding their opponents to less than 165 yards a game passing on the road as well. Edge rusher Shane Irwin has 5 sacks through 5 ball games, 26 total tackles, and a forced fumble. And Riley Wimpy is currently leading Boise State in tackles with 45 of them. They're taking on a winless UNLV program who's gone 0-5 against the spread in those losses. The Runnin' Rebels are scoring just 15 points per contest, and they're throwing for less than $1.75 per game. Meanwhile, defensively, this Rebel secondary has just 1 interception on the season, and the entire defense has only 3 total takeaways. UNLV's giving up 41 points per contest at home and over 260 yards a game on the ground in that same category. Now, total-wise, 2 out of the Rebels' last 3 ball games got over the posted number. Meanwhile, Boise's gone 2-0 to the over when traveling, 5-0 to the over for the entire season. Pretty chalky lean for me here. Give me Boise State minus 27 and the over 61 in that ball game. All right, moving on, we're going to take a look at some Saturday action, and we're going to dial in and focus in on a 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern start time game, which looks like it is not on our board here, but that's going to be Hawaii versus San Jose State. And once again, that's a 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff in San Jose. The Spartans of San Jose State are minus 6 at home, totals 57 and a hook. Now, the Spartans are 4-0 straight up on the season, 4-0 against the spread in those ball games. The Spartans are giving up just 14 points a game at home and under 205 yards a game passing in that same category. Cade Hall has 5.5 sacks from the defensive line, 15 total tackles, and 1 fumble recovery for the junior. Kyle Harmon also has 52 total tackles from that linebacker spot. He's also got a forced fumble and a PBU for Harmon. The Spartans are also throwing for nearly 330 yards per game on their home field. Quarterback Nick Starkel is completing over 70% of his passes and is just 20 yards shy of 1,000 for the season. His favorite target's been wideout Bailey Gaither, who has 27 grabs for 432 and 4 touchdowns. Gaither's averaging 108 receiving yards per contest. Now, the Spartans are taking on a Hawaii program who's lost 2 out of their last 3 on the road. Just 1 and 2 against the number in those 3 road contests. Hawaii scoring just 17 points per contest when they travel, and they're throwing for less than 185 yards a game in that same category. Now, total-wise, Hawaii saw 2 out of their last 3 ball games stay under the posted number. Meanwhile, the Spartans' last 2 ball games stayed under the line themselves. 3-1 to the under overall for the season. Give me the San Jose State Spartans minus 6 and the under 57.5 in that contest. All right, next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Colorado State versus San Diego State, and that's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time in San Diego. The Aztecs are the 9-point favorite at home. Totals 47 flat. San Diego State is on a 2-game losing streak, just 1-3 straight up in their last 4. Now the Aztecs are throwing for less than 145 yards a game. Carson Baker is completing just 56% of his passes, and he's thrown 3 interceptions. He's also thrown just 3 touchdown passes through 6 ball games. San Diego State's leading receiver, Jesse Matthews, is also averaging just 44 yards a game receiving, and he's yet to score a touchdown. The Aztecs have scored 21 points or less in 3 out of their last 4 ball games. Now they're taking on a Colorado State program who's rushing for nearly $130 a game on the ground. Trey McBride also has 17 catches for 268 and 4 scores from that tight end position. And as bad as they've looked defensively, the Rams defense is allowing just 105 yards a game on the ground. Scott Patchen has 3.5 sacks from the defensive line, and Daquan Jackson leads the defense in tackles with 27 of them from that linebacker position. Now, total-wise, the Rams saw their last 2 straight get over the posted number. Meanwhile, the Aztecs saw 2 out of their last 4 get over the line themselves, throwing out that Colorado-Buffalo game. Give me the underdog Colorado State Rams +9 and the over 47 in that ball game. All right, next matchup. It is going to be one of the later games. It's not on our big screen behind me, but it's going to be Fresno State versus Nevada, 10:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff in Reno. The Nevada Wolfpacks -7 with the total at 57 points. Nevada's 5-1 straight up on the season, 3-0 against the number on their home turf. Carson Strong's thrown for nearly 2,000 yards on the season already, 16 touchdown passes and just 2 interceptions. Strong is completing over 71% of his passes, and he throws for over 325 yards per contest. Now, his leading wide receiver, Romeo Doubs, has 37 grabs for 788 yards and 9 touchdown catches. Doubs is averaging over 21 yards a reception and 131 yards receiving per contest. Meanwhile, defensively, the Wolfpack's allowing just 18 points per contest in their last 5 ball games. Dom Peterson has 4.5 sacks on the season from the defensive line. Lawson Hall currently leads the Wolfpack with 43 total tackles. Now they're taking on a Fresno State team who failed to cover the number in their season opener with Hawaii. The Bulldogs were actually favored by a field goal and ended up losing by 15 points in that ball game. And when it comes to the number in this contest here, 3 out of Fresno's last 4 ball games stayed under the posted total. Meanwhile, Nevada's 4-1 to the under in their last 5 themselves. Give me the Nevada Wolfpack -7 and the under 57 in that contest. And with that, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be the Wyoming Cowboys versus the New Mexico Lobos, 10:30 p.m. Eastern start time. And that's actually going to be at Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas. I guess they're having some pretty strict COVID restrictions in New Mexico, so they moved it to Las Vegas. So once again, the city of Las Vegas coming through for everybody there. But anyway, the Wyoming Cowboys are the 16-point favorite on the neutral site. Totals 52.5. Wyoming's won 2 out of their last 3 ball games. 76 total points they scored in those 2 victories. The Cowboys are scoring 34 points a game and rushing for nearly 240 yards a game on the ground. Xavier Valadez just 9 yards shy of 500 rushing yards on the season. 5.6 yards a carry and 4 touchdowns on the ground he's scored. Keep an eye on him. He has been banged up, but I do expect him to play. The Wyoming Cowboys have scored 15 times on the ground this season, 6 rushing TDs by quarterback Levi Williams. Meanwhile, the Cowboy defense is holding their opponents to just 98 yards a game rushing on the road. Chad Muma has 48 total tackles and 3 sacks. The junior linebacker also has a forced fumble and a fumble recovery on the season as well. They're taking on a New Mexico squad who's just been playing terrible this season. They're winless in 5 games on the year. The Lobos are scoring just 20 points a game and giving up 35 points per contest. This Lobo D is also giving up over 305 yards a game through the air, and nearly 470 total yards of offense per contest as well. Now, total-wise, New Mexico is 60% to the over on the season. Meanwhile, Wyoming's gone 3-0 to the over when they travel themselves. Give me the Wyoming Cowboys minus 16 and the over 52.5 in that game. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. I like the Air Force Academy minus 10.5 under 51. I'm leaning toward Boise State minus 27 over 61. I like San Jose State minus 6 under 57 and a hook. I also like Colorado State plus 9 over 47. I'm leaning Nevada minus 7 under 57. And last but certainly not least, I like Wyoming minus 16 and the over 52.5. And with that, we're going to dive into some shout-outs. And from our Instagram platform, shout out to Samuka Honey, Brenna Marie, One Take Edits, Sports Sharks, Kevin Hernandez, Big Sean Kemp, John Paulo Riccio, Clara Pabin, Teresa Lynn, and Jared Bonner from Bonner Comedy. And then finally from our YouTube platform, shout out to Jonathan Perez, Brian Harding, Donald Jackson, Jarrett Brown, Gino Estep, Nathan Williams, Sean Mejias, Jeffrey Sung, Awful Workplaces, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my man, Steven Quintanilla. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. Most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.